Sylvanas is returning to defend Quel'Thalas, the new Midnight Reveal. That's right. A Sylvanas return. Who would have thought that'd ever be controversial? But honestly, post-Shadowlands, any character that was forefront Shadowlands is controversial. And obviously, Sylvanas returning. We know we're going to Windrunner Spire, right? My God, there. Tundra Freeze, thank you for the gifted sub to Tidewell. I do appreciate that, man. Tidewell, Death Knight of our Scourge. We know that we're going to Windrunner Spire, which is obviously the home of the Windrunner sisters. And while I've had many fantasies of my own about travels to Windrunner Spire and what could happen there one day. The dungeon and everything that's going to be there is supposed to reveal more lore about the Windrunner sisters. We're going to get some more stuff out of that. But what about Sylvanas herself? Is she coming back? And if she comes back, what's she going to do? What role is she going to play? Let's get some information here from Doran.
So an interview from a few days back confirms Sylvanas' return sometime in midnight. The War Within questline was just the start of things, and something big will be happening soon. The elves are reuniting, they're inviting the void-infused ones back, so why would they shun the undead elves, especially heroes like Sylvanas Windrunner, that became a banshee because she was defending the sun? Well, we got a few hints to look at. The recent Undercity and Delve revamp hint in 12.1.5 that we could see happening, but also the Windrunner Spire, which will happen in midnight. Sylvanas is definitely coming back, this much we knew even with the recent questline, but could we see her reunite with the elves instead of returning as the Banshee Queen? Let's check out everything we know.
Yeah, there's two relationships that would be very interesting if Sylvanas does return, right, in terms of lore. You got her relationship with the elves, obviously her sister. She's undead. How is that going to be treated in Silvermoon City? The Horde are allowed there, and the undead themselves, the Forsaken, are allowed there. But what about Sylvanas, who was previously, Ranger General? Now coming back, decrepit and shit. She hasn't been back there since everything that happened to her happened. So that would be an interesting thing to see. And then the second relationship, what about her relationship with the Forsaken? What about her relationship with Callie and Menethil, Miss Mommy Pillows? What are we going to do with that? There's a lot of interesting things that just have not played out yet that we'd like to see how Sylvanas would interact with those people.
With Sylvanas gone for so long, she has a lot to catch up to, and you can also catch up super fast with WoW coaching and Overgear. If you're playing the game, but you're never really getting better, even though you're putting a lot of time in, it's not really a matter of putting in even more time, but you might just need a better perspective and a look from the outside. This is where Overgear coaching steps in, and it's not really starting from scratch, it's an outsider's
Interesting
perspective,
ad, okay.
analyzing your game.
Are you talking about Lorthamar, Tundra Freeze? He did say all are welcomed and everything, and I'm sure he meant Sylvanas too. Yeah, I'm sure she's welcome back. It's just, it would be an interesting thing to see her come back.
Super quick and get started immediately. You can use my code 10Dorons to get an awesome discount, and you can start your own personal coaching session today with my link in the description below. Okay, Sylvanas' point you already know, Sylvanas is coming. Not only did they confirm this around 6 months ago, but we had the pretty interesting questline at the end of the War Within when we went into the Maw that I feel like it implies so much and changes so much lore, yet barely anyone is talking about it, and Blizzard hasn't really followed up on it yet.
That's right, so don't forget, we left her in the Maw. The last time we saw her was during this questline, and she was making comments about how orderly everything in this afterlife is and how unnatural it all feels. And obviously, whenever we hear things like orderly and unnatural, anti-nature, we think the Titans, right? So obviously now, we're starting to think that the Shadowlands isn't really what the afterlife is supposed to be. And that annoying, disgusting city in the sky, that sky dildo of Oribos, never seemed natural to begin with. That thing was funneling souls in, shooting them out to different realms. It always seemed all janked up, and it seemed like, oh, we die and then we go work some more? That doesn't seem right. But anyways, everything about Shadowlands and the afterlife, maybe it's a retcon, I have no idea, but it all seems like Sylvanas is going to uncover something for us, and it's going to be Titan-related in the afterlife.
We remember this interview from about 6 months back when one of the lead Blizzard devs told us that we can expect to see some characters that were not in the Midnight Announcement cinematic, and that we will see Sylvanas coming in midnight. Now, Sylvanas actually didn't come in midnight yet, but she came in.
She didn't come in midnight. The way he's saying it is, it's interesting.
the prequel to Midnight, which was this
Maybe I'm
questline
just
with
fucked up in the
Arator,
head.
where he sought her out, hoping to persuade her to come to Azeroth to help us defend the Sunwell against Xel'Atath's Void Invasion. Keep in mind though, this is not what they were talking about. They actually got other plans for her, as a new interview confirmed from a few days back. However, the reason the Sylvanas questline was a big deal in the War Within was that she literally told us that Shadowlands is a complete and utter scam. While it's not outright confirmation that everything is fake, it's kind of as good as a confirmation really with what they foreshadowed with this questline. She told us that she has seen beyond this fake veil of death into the true afterlife, and that this entire Shadowlands thing that we are going to seems way too ordered. Keep in mind, using the word ordered very strongly, linking the Titan presence and that they really had something to do with this. So, in a way, I think this was at first a setup for a story, likely tied to The Last Titan, that the Shadowlands are somehow related to the Titans, very likely yet another part of the prison mechanism that they have over Azeroth. This did make sense though as well, and we even got hints like these in the Shadowlands themselves, that Primus was potentially working with one of the Titans.
This is what I want to know more about. There's this whole like fanfic theory almost that the Primus, right, and Aman'Thul know each other. That there's some kind of like magic going back and forth, things that they've taught each other. The Primus, if you don't know, the leader of Maldraxxus, and Maldraxxus is the military arm of the Shadowlands. And one reason why Maldraxxus is such a good military is because the Primus has the ability to see into the future a little bit, to know what's going to happen in a battle before it happens. And who has time manipulation power? You're looking at him, Aman'Thul. He has that ability. And then on top of that, Aman'Thul, you'll notice runic shit all over a Titan facility, all kinds of stuff like that. Domination magic, stuff like that. That is a Primus thing that has been taught to Aman'Thul. So supposedly these two guys know each other. They've been dealing with each other. They've taught each other things, benefited from the relationship, and yet that relationship has been completely secret to us all this time. So I would love to get into that. Pre-watch? No, I just know my fucking lore. Come on.
And that there really was a connection between these two pantheons. So Sylvanas is in a really unique position, having actually seen this, and almost certainly this knowledge.
The Primus is a bit like Sam, pre-watches shit and claims he's a genius. He can see into the future. I see what you did there. It's a pretty good one.
Will be very useful once the Titans do come to Azeroth. Now here's the thing, her return has essentially been confirmed in this questline, and also in this questline we also saw Nathanos, which was never really explained why, but I digress. So Arator asks her to return, but she says that she still has her job to do in the Shadowlands, but in a way she confirms that their paths will cross again. Essentially she's saying that she will come back another time in the future. Actually, during the Dragonflight in the Forsaken questline, we also had a vision of Sylvanas hinting at this, and this happened about 2 years back. Now, we know there is the Windrunner Spire related to the Windrunner sisters, and all the sisters are relevant in Midnight, but do not just speculate kind of baselessly here. We actually have an interview, which is only from a few days back, that confirms what I'm currently talking about. Here is what they kind of said. I mean, it's not really word for word. We have seen her doing her work in the mall. This is just what I mentioned, and we're also going into the Ever Song and the Windrunner Spire, so there we will learn more about Sylvanas and this future of her character in the saga. Blizzard here says that they don't want to make any promises right now, as it will kind of spoil, so they're not giving us concrete info when exactly we will see her, but they did already reveal her in the prequel to Midnight, and a character like this won't be left out of the saga.
Good. I love that they're keeping some lore secret. I don't want to know everything via Wowhead articles and shit, and I know that I'm a guy who, yeah, I'm reporting on the news all the time, and I'm always going through the Wowhead articles, but I actually avoid a lot of the spoiler ones, because I just don't want to see it in an article. I want to experience it in the game. So even this questline where Sylvanas showed up in the questline, I didn't know it was going to happen until it happened, and that's how it should be.
Essentially, they're saying here that her little cameo here was just the start, and there will be a storyline in the saga itself. Now, one thing I want to mention, so that we can combine this with the other evidence that we have, as we already have a decently clear picture, it's important to note that Sylvanas is a major character for two very important and very relevant factions from Midnight, that is the Blood Elves of Quotalas and the Forsaken, and we just learned recently both will be very important. I mean, obviously, the Elves are the center of this expansion, but they also confirmed that the Forsaken will be relevant. We actually get a questline in Midnight where the Blood Elves talk about how they actually respect Sylvanas and how they see her as the Ranger General that gave her life to protect Quotalas. They kind of see this as a separate form of Sylvanas.
Imagine she goes back to the exact spot where this happened, right? Where she was turned into the Banshee Queen by Arthas. That would be a pretty cool moment, too. I mean, the whole dead scar and everything, that's all disappeared now. So all of it would be an interesting place to go revisit, considering now it's the first time that she would ever go back there. And it's changed back to what it was, I guess when it looked like this, the day she died. Or was resurrected.
Separate Sylvanas that didn't do all this crazy stuff post-Legion. And all this is actually completely factually true. Despite the recent Sylvanas controversy, I mean, in her high elven life, she was really as pure as it gets. She literally did everything she could to stop Arthas, and this sacrifice turned her into the undead that she currently is. Sylvanas, despite being a different character, now an undead, is still very related and tied to the elves of Quel'Thalas. There is no way this Quel'Thalas thing can happen without her. Keep in mind, based on this story, this new invasion of the Sunwell and Quel'Thalas is supposedly just as bad as the one led by Arthas in Warcraft 3. I can't honestly say with a straight face it's nearly on the same hype level, but objectively...
There's a lot of similarities there. I mean, the Sunwell was a target of Arthas Menethil's, and the Sunwell is now a target of Xal'atath. So, yeah, I mean, Sylvanas going back and defending Silvermoon, it's totally we've come full circle moment probably for her.
It is around the same threat, or arguably even worse, because the Lich King was after accomplishing a few things in Northrend, but these guys wanna destroy the universe itself and the planet and who knows what not. But all that aside, Sylvanas is now an undead, but with her recent excursion into the Maw and her entire deal with the jailer and everything, I think she's much more than just that one undead that was cursed by Arthas and such, and she knows at the core she is an elf that was twisted with this Shadowlands mechanism magic. She lost her life defending the Sunwell and Quel'Thalas, so it does seem strange that she would not care that it is being threatened and attacked once again. Furthermore, with these Shadowlands changes and all these new variations of elves, as crazy as it sounds, there is a possibility that Sylvanas could actually return to the elves and not really as a Forsaken leader. I'm not saying revived or back to her old ranger general form, but we do know a lot more about undead right now than we did in the past. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, she'd probably be more likely to be welcomed back by the elves than the Forsaken, because she really did screw over the Forsaken. I mean, they were, if you remember, throughout the battle for Azeroth and everything, they were the ones who stuck by Sylvanas' side even when their own horde was starting to turn against them, right? Like, there was divisions in the horde and everything, but like for the most part, the Forsaken really did stick with Sylvanas and, ride or die with her up until the very end when she did her little mustache twirl and flew away. So I think she screwed them over more than she screwed over the Elven people. So that would be a harder relationship, I think, for her to mend.
Undead are no longer seen as like these mindless cursed beings, but it's just like a different, technically living form on Azeroth with a culture of their own. At this point, they're no longer really the Forsaken, but just death magic infused beings. Death magic infused humans and death magic infused elves. On the other hand, there actually is a really big possibility that something happens with her as an undead. You can check on my recent video on the Undercity revamp, but we do have some really interesting information and new hints. Just a few days back, we had the announcement with them talking about the Labyrinth system and delves, and then we datamined a delve achievement called To Die in Lordaeron or Undercity, very strongly hinting that there might be a delve and a storyline.
That's wait a minute, that's an achievement? Holy crap. Look, you have Lordaeron and the Undercity, I think, can be two cities that coexist at the same time. You rebuild Lordaeron, revamp the Undercity, and now you've got a place at on the top, which can be considered, a cross-faction hub, whatever you want to do with it. And then underneath, you keep it just Horde only. Only the Horde can go to the Undercity. I'd be completely fine with that. And you got two leaders, too. The Forsaken have their people, but then Calia Menethil can very much act like a bridge, where she is the leader of Lordaeron, right? She's a Menethil at the end of the day. Now, I don't know how people feel about a Menethil sitting on the throne again. Yeah, last time that happened, shit really hit the fan. But I'm just saying, maybe I'm just saying all this because I just want to see Lordaeron in the game. I just want to see it, and I've talked about it. Rose petals falling and all. I just want to walk the same path. I want to hear the bells ringing as I enter as the great champion of the Scourge. I just want to see it. Is that too much to ask? Maybe it is. Maybe it is, but I would love it.
Very strongly hinting that there might be a delve and a storyline in Undercity.
I think a lot of people would love to see it.
Furthermore, a few months back, we had also gotten confirmed information from interviews that the Forsaken will play a role in Midnight as well. Not as big of a role as the Elves and the Elven Reunion, but they will be relevant. Seeing that the Labyrinth thing has been put in 12.1.5 just a bit after BlizzCon, this could be when Sylvanas becomes relevant again. Personally, I'm almost certain that Sylvanas is not coming back as the Queen of the Forsaken, and they will very likely keep their current leadership, but some sort of a role is definitely possible. It doesn't appear that she will be in the mall forever, and with us learning that the Shadowlands are fake, no one really even died, they just got trapped in this like Titan pocket dimension. As crazy as it sounds with the Elven reunion, I think Sylvanas returning to the elves seems actually very likely. I mean, they're seemingly starting to accept everyone and reunite the void converted ones, so why would the elves shun the undead like death magic infused elves?
I don't think they would.
Just regular high elves that were victims of the scourge, especially heroes like Sylvanas that became an undead to protect the rest of the elves and to keep them living. I mean, the Elven Sister reunion has been hinted at for years now with the various books and interactions they had over the years, but now we will see what will happen in the Winter Under Spire. I'm guessing there will be a clue on what will happen with Sylvanas and what we can expect. I could honestly see her having a role for the Forsaken, but as I said, possibly like a bridge character. I don't think we're returning to the Banshee Queen time.
Man, the scantily clad version of Sylvanas was fantastic. This is OG Sylvanas right here. Basically wearing a power thong and a bra. Fantastic shit, man. This is good old classic WoW right here. Give me classic plus just for more of this.
But based on the Dragonflight questline, it doesn't appear that all the Forsaken hate her and they have been rebuilding her character for years really at this point, so her return is confirmed, that we know. The foreshadowing was in the War Within already, now we know she's coming back in the saga, but to what extent we can't really say yet. I mean, I'm expecting we're going to see this possibly in 12.1.5 and forward possibly towards Midnight Ending, but at this point, I mean, we can only really speculate. Thanks for watching. Check out the recently confirmed Orgrimmar and Stormwind revamp Blizzard has planned by clicking on the screen, and check out my brand new Witcher lore channel that I just opened by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, nice video from Doran, and I don't think Sylvanas returning is like this is a big untold secret. It's just the way it's all going to work out, and how much lore development are we going to get out of it? Is she just going to show up in a quest line and then stand in Undercity for the rest of the not Undercity, stand in Silvermoon for the rest of the expansion, kind of like a lot of the lore characters did in Oribos and Shadowlands? I hope not. I hope we get some more out of her. She has some cool lore background stories and some really crazy opportunities for lore development going forward with the Forsaken and the Elves and everything else. We'll see what happens. A nice video from Doran, the teller of 1,000 truths.